The Princess of the Mist, a legend of Mount Ophir. Long ago, in the golden age of the Malaka Sultanate, Sultan Mahmud Shah ruled with absolute power. He lived in a palace of carved wood and shimmering silk, yet his heart was restless. He had heard tales of a celestial beauty who lived atop Mount Ophir, the legendary Puteri Gunung Ledang. The Sultan became obsessed with the idea of making her his queen, believing that only a fairy princess was worthy of a ruler as great as he. The Sultan summoned his most loyal and legendary warrior, Hang Tuah. "Go to the mountain," the Sultan commanded, his eyes burning with desire. "Tell the princess that the sovereign of Melaka seeks her hand in marriage. Do not return until you have her answer." Hang Tuah, ever the faithful servant, bowed low. He knew the journey would be perilous, but he could not refuse his king. The journey was grueling. Hang Tuah led a small delegation through dense, ancient jungles and over jagged rocks. As they climbed higher, the air grew thin and cold, and a strange, silver mist began to swirl around their feet. The forest seemed to watch them, the trees whispering in a language they couldn't understand. Hang Tuah forged ahead, his spirit undeterred by the haunting beauty of the mountain. High in the clouds, the path ended at a small, humble hut. There stood an old woman named Nenek Kabayan, whose eyes sparkled with ancient wisdom. She greeted Hang Tuah with a knowing smile. "You seek the princess," she croaked. "She knows why you are here, but a queen of the spirit realm cannot be won easily. She has conditions, 7 of them, that the Sultan must fulfill to prove his love." Nenek Kabayan spoke the princess's first 2 demands. "First," she said, her voice echoing like the wind, "the Sultan must build a bridge of pure gold from his palace in Melaka all the way to this mountain peak. Second, beside the golden bridge, there must be a bridge of shimmering silver. Only then will the path be grand enough for a princess to walk upon." Hang Tuah listened in silence, his heart heavy with the weight of such impossible requests. Then came the strangest requests of all. "For the wedding feast," the old woman continued, "the Sultan must provide 7 trays of mosquito hearts and 7 trays of mite hearts. He must also bring a vat of tears from young maidens and a vat of juice from the betel nut. These are the treasures she requires." Hang Tuah recorded every word, wondering how any mortal ruler could ever hope to gather such things. The final condition was the most terrible of all. Nenek Kabayan lowered her voice to a whisper. "If the Sultan truly desires her, he must provide one last gift, a small cup filled with the blood of his own son, the young Prince Raja Ahmad." Hang Tuah shuddered. The princess's price was not just gold or labor. It was the very soul of the Sultan's lineage. Hang Tuah returned to Melaka and delivered the news. To his horror, the Sultan did not hesitate. Driven by his obsession, Sultan Mahmud Shah ordered his people to work night and day. He emptied the royal treasury to begin the bridges and forced his subjects to toil in the swamps to catch tiny insects. He ignored the cries of his people as they wept to fill the vats with tears. He was a man possessed, blinded by his own vanity. Finally, only one condition remained. The Sultan stood in the royal chambers, holding a sharp golden kris. Before him sat his young son, Raja Ahmad, who looked up at his father with innocent, trusting eyes. The Sultan's hand trembled. He looked at the golden cup on the table, and then at the boy he loved. For the first time, the mist of his obsession began to clear, and he saw the monster he was becoming. "No," the Sultan whispered, dropping the kris to the floor with a heavy clang. "I cannot do this." He realized that to marry the princess, he would have to destroy everything that made him a man and a father. The bridges were never finished, and the princess remained on her mountain, forever out of reach. The Sultan learned that some things are too precious to sacrifice for power, and the legend of the mountain remains a reminder of the limits of a king's heart.